On the second part of the program, we were at an event in Ikeja, Nigeria, in which they've gone digital. Nigeria is going digital, and of course, it's all about digital here in Nigeria. We had favorite speakers from West Africa and other African countries who attended the event, and they were able to enlighten people about digital citizenship. It was a very nice event, and of course, our crew were there, and we were going to show you what actually transpired at that event. I'll see you at the end of the program. Keep watching Personality with Larry.
And so what I want to do today is to share with you some of these perspectives and some of these learnings as you all go back to your organizations tomorrow and think about some of the things that we've spoken about this morning. So, as part of our research, IDC has spoken to a number of organizations across the world to understand how are they using digital transformation. What are some of the key challenges that these organizations are undergoing? And so what I'm going to do in the next 30 to 40 minutes is to share with you a blueprint that you all can think about as you go back to your organization. And think about how you want to leverage some of these technologies to digitally transform your own business. So the challenge for many organizations today, or the focus for many organizations, is how do I leverage these third platform technologies, these innovation accelerators, to digitally transform my organization. And so many organizations that I'm actually thinking about who've actually done Digital Explorer programs or are digital players are really struggling with trying to understand what do I need as I move to the next phase, what do I need to think about? And there are 5 challenges, and I would call them 5 opportunities for you, that you need to think about as you embark on your digital programs. And I'm going to talk about each of these 5 and share with you examples and share with you what you can do really to build a blueprint as you plan your digital journeys. One challenge, first challenge that organizations had was they actually had outdated KPIs. So a lot of them were not measuring what they were supposed to measure. The second challenge is the organization structure. And I think as you go back to your organization, I think some of this may resonate with you. What is the organization structure that I have? And whether this inhibits some of these digital programs that I want to plan. The third challenge is that many organizations had more short-term tactical focus rather than long-term strategic areas. That was the third challenge for many organizations. The fourth challenge was, do I have the capabilities, do I have the skill sets to transform? Which I think is increasingly relevant here. And number 5 is, because we have different siloed programs, different siloed organization structure, the innovation in my organization is also siloed. So the 5th challenge that organizations had was silos of innovation. Right? So I'm going to talk about each of these 5 areas, and I'm hoping that at the end of the session, you will have a blueprint for you to start thinking about how you transform your organization.
Throughout the presentation, I saw that it's all dealing with people and human beings, right? They're the same thing, actually. Is there a school for cybersecurity to train the ecosystem? Because a lot of the talent sort of evolved, having been a system administrator or a database admin, and security became something of interest for them.
So what we are doing with a whole lot of companies at the moment is to create a cyber awareness, a security awareness, a way of thinking as part of the organization. And it's being done in a number of ways. And one of the most effective ways is just through continuous reinforcement. So for example, the one company, the one bank is every single time anybody logs into anything at the bank, whether they're a customer, whether they're an employee, whether they're an IT person, there's a security comment on the screen. Sometimes it is just information and you have to click OK. Sometimes it's a question where they'll say, and it's all very short, so obviously we're all in a hurry and we don't want to be stopped from doing our work. So it could be a question, you receive an email, there's a link to you, click on it, for example. So every single time they log into anything, any application, any system, there's just a short reminder as to think about it, think what you are doing.
How are we leveraging technology to bring value, not just to you as an organization, but also to you as a business? What we've seen at VMware is that irrespective of the industry you play in, 3 business drivers, 3 things are the outcomes that organizations seek, that it's making this discussion around digital transformation an important topic for us to look at. The first thing is you want to create new business opportunities. We can't run away from the fact that business exists. We want to make money and to grow their landscape. Most businesses out there are looking for new ways of creating new values that they can take to their customers and then drive additional revenue. But in looking at this, they've also seen that they need to sort of transform the way they interact with their customer. And in that last example I gave, that's what the financial services players have done. Once upon a time, you needed to walk into a banking hall to do any financial transaction. Today, if you have a bank out there that has not embraced the digital mobile banking approach to offering and bringing service close to you, maybe you shouldn't be banking with them. But that's the reality out there. Organizations out there are beginning to look for how do we create more intimacy, because as long as they can get closer to their customers and make it a lot easier for them to do business together, it becomes easier to drive those new values that are out there. But in all of this, the reality also is that this digital transformation comes with its risk. Karen emphasized that during our session. And it becomes imperative for organizations to say and look at ways of protecting their brand and protecting corporate data that they have in that care. And that is where we come in. We believe that for this digital transformation to be successful, you need a digital foundation. And one of those key elements around the digital foundation, or a software-defined digital foundation, is there must be some form of common infrastructure where it becomes a lot easier for you to say, I federate whatever I have on-premise to what the cloud is promising. There must be common operation. You don't want to say we're embarking on this journey and then it becomes pretty difficult to maintain and operate. Yoti mentioned that one of the key requirements from business is how do we reduce operating costs for our businesses. So you need to look at how do we do all of this. And to cap all of this up, you need to provide intrinsic security. Security must be embedded in everything you do. The threats, the cyber threats out there are real, and they're becoming much more advanced. You need to also be at the forefront, at the edge of looking for the best way to protect those valuable assets that you have. In the world we live in today, your data becomes your most prized possession because data is everything. And that's what this thought platform is driving for us.
Residents being digitized, giving us the digital addressing system so that at least those who own properties will be paying their property rates. But when they started, you really didn't understand, but realized that people have big mansions, they are not paying property rates because you don't have proper records. But for now, every property in the country has a digital address. So this will definitely improve upon property taxes. Then coming down to, they are trying to get the taxpayers also to be paying their taxes through mobile platforms. They haven't deployed it yet. I was just discussing it with a friend last week, and they are saying that they are trying to get this mobile platform so it will be easier for the taxpayer all of us don't like paying taxes. But if it is made easier for you, oh yes. I mean, it's only in the public sector or the structured sector that they take it from your pay. But you have a lot of people making money, but they are not paying it. But if you make it easier for them, sometimes it's so difficult. Do I have to drive through traffic just to give my money to the government? But when you can sit in the comfort of your office or your business and you can still pay it through a platform, it makes it easier and convenient. And again, was it last week that an interoperability platform tool was launched between the mobile companies? But for now, you can transfer money between MTN and MTN, but to the other mobile company becomes a bit cumbersome. But they just launched it. That one too is going to try to mop up a lot of capital, because you realize that most people do not bank, but at least sending mobile money is so easy in the comfort of your home, anytime, any day. So in the final analysis, what I'm seeing is that the government is going to mop up a lot of money from citizens that could be channeled to the banks. Anyway, this is what we are doing in Ghana now. But to come to my organization, where we are really leveraging technology to bring down the cost of operations at our toll stations.
Me, of course.
Go ahead. Is it Mrs. Mommy?
Ezekiel Ibutise. I hope I got that right.
My name is Ezekiel Boitzer. I'm the CIO for Ascon Hour, and I think it's a nice thing to be here. The CIO Summit is a summit we all look up to our CIOs every year, because it's kind of refresher, kind of rebranding us, it gear us towards the next phase in our career. And this year's summit, very wonderful. Digital transformation in the striving economy, the blueprints. You have to see where your organization is and how to take it to the next steps. Wonderful. And there's no other place to be here at this moment in time. Because when we look at what's happening in the economy, it's striving. Everybody else striving. So how do you move from where you are to the next steps? The season to be. I think it's a very wonderful thing. Wow, splendid. It's just it can be anybody. It's just where the fan blows. And nothing says I cannot win the next one as well.
My name is Jyoti Lalchandani. I'm the Regional Vice President for IDC for the Middle East and Africa region. It's really a platform that IDC has designed that brings together the ICT industry and brings together leading CIOs from a wide range of industries. And the objective of this summit is to discuss what's happening in the technology landscape, but also share best practices, discuss some of the challenges that CIOs are facing, and then find a common platform to put all of this in perspective and how to deal with these challenges. One of the key focus areas today in the session is to discuss about digital transformation. And when we talk about digital transformation, we're really talking about how we can leverage technology to compete more effectively, to become more efficient, to be more agile. And as a result of all these unique characteristics, organizations become more developed and ultimately leads to overall development of the Nigerian economy. And our goal is to help organizations in Nigeria leverage some of the technology to become more operationally efficient, which in turn is great news for the Nigerian economy. Well, the government, I think, should actually take note of some of the challenges that organizations are facing in terms of infrastructure, in terms of availability of networks, power, and other infrastructure challenges. And the Nigerian government can then take some of these factors into consideration and really support and boost the ICT industry, because the technology industry, we believe, is really going to be the backbone, the foundation for growth for the future. So one of the key challenges around cybersecurity is the lack of information and changing the culture of users of technology to be a bit more aware about some of the challenges and risks. So a great takeaway from the first sessions this morning was really that organizations need to become more aware, need to build more awareness programs within the organization in terms of the risks associated with cybersecurity, the challenges. And I think the IT organizations now need to take a more holistic approach to dealing with security. and not just throw products into solving a security issue, but try and change the culture, change the awareness of security within the company.
Issue of power here. I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't know about power, even in our homes. The issue is carbon footprint is an issue. Today, CIOs who are here, or data center managers that are here, must have had the word PUE. Every data center you are building today, there is a target PUE that you have to maintain. And PUE just means the ratio of the power you put into the ratio of the generator you bought to the real power consumed by the IT equipment. Let me use that as a layman's definition. What is the size of my generator? My generator is 100 kilowatts. You should try as possible to see that 80 kilowatt gets to the servers in the data center. And how do you do this? You do this by choosing your equipment, the cooling, the UPS, the breakers, the distribution panels you have, to be highly efficient, so that they do not consume half of the generator power. And what is remaining for the real servers becomes small. A PUE of between 1 to 1.5 is what is ideal. For us, we are trying to reduce it to 1.2. In Europe today, it's 1.2. If you don't have it in your 2 years back, it was 1.4, but they are coming down to 1.2. If you don't have that operating in your data center, you close shop.
Some of the work that we used to do traditionally as lawyers was being taken over by the digital age. All of a sudden, clients didn't need to call me for certain types of agreements because they would find them online, not just online, but for free. And what that now meant was that it was affecting my bottom line. It was also affecting the number of lawyers I could employ, or whether I should even bother employing any lawyers for this sort of thing. On this slide, what you can see, the topic there is the ongoing battle between man and machine. This has raged for centuries. It's nothing new, technology taking people's jobs. As far back as the 16th century, Queen Elizabeth I refused to give a patent to the gentleman who invented the knitting machine because she said it would take work from her subjects. But fast forward to the 20th century, IBM, when it introduced its computers in the 1960s, that took away jobs from the human computers, because there were human beings that served as computers decades ago. And one of my favorite films, Hidden Figures, actually accurately depicts when the ladies who acted as human computers lost their jobs to the IBM computer. Legislation, as a lawyer, there's no way I can talk without talking about legislation. We've got some legislation in place, but traditionally, legislation does not move as fast as technology. One of the key legislations for the tech industry is the Copyright Act, because it talks about the creation of things from your brain. The same thing with the Patent Act, right? And there have been efforts to upgrade these laws to bring them in line with what is happening in today's world. And I'm using this forum to employ the National Assembly to pass the bills that are relating to copyright, to pass the bills that are relating to intellectual property, so that we can have the legislative framework in place that we need. Data protection, that's another area that our laws are lacking. We need one cohesive law that deals with data protection.
Companies who haven't made significant investments in infrastructure. Because if you really want to move your existing data center to the cloud, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It doesn't make any sense at all. So what most organizations will end up doing is having some kind of hybrid infrastructure. And how do you do that? You have to make an assessment of where you are, right? And your assessment has to cover 4 significant points. Unless you're an organization that has only one physical office, you have to consider your corporate network. Right? And the traditional way of having a corporate network in Nigeria today is to have we have a 21st century link that goes to the head office, or a VDT link. Sorry, I hope no one from 21st century VDT is here. Or you have the main one link to head office. And then all your branches are connected, and you have routers and switches in all your branches. You know, that's very costly. The future network is software defined. okay, where you have software-defined networking boxes. Meraki is an example. I'm not here to sell for these vendors, but a lot of software-defined network tools that you can use. So the future network is one that is software-defined, where you have boxes, and your software configuration is in the cloud. Okay, that makes you agile. So if a device goes bad, you don't need a network engineer across your locations. Just send the box, they connect it to the internet, and bam, you have a network. And you really don't need that star topology network. With a software-defined network, you can use different service providers in different locations without the need to connect to the head office. So each branch can have its own connectivity, and you have your software defined at network level, with your VPN defined at the network level. Another thing to consider to future-proof your data centers, to have a unified endpoint management solution. And there are lots of solutions out there, Cisco, Sophos, etc., where you manage all your endpoints from one central location, firewall, proxy, endpoint devices, etc.
One of the challenges we have locally is the ability of most of our software partners to be able to seamlessly provide service across cloud and on-prem. What would your advice be doing trying to onboard partners as a metrics which we must take? Because most times we go with who is the best three, we flow with them, but when we come into disasters or crisis, it becomes a big challenge in failing over, even with the big three locally. So what are the things we need to use to determine who we pick as partners, 1, 2?
The challenge that you're facing is the challenge that most customers that we visit face. And the reason is pretty simple, is because it's this journey that you've started, and Sanchi said it. You start with virtualization, and then the journey to the cloud is first virtualization, and then the journey to the cloud. Unfortunately, and not through the fault of anybody in the room, is, we all come from this legacy world of physical, so one application, one server. And today, some applications don't support virtual. In fact, I don't know many applications that don't support virtualization. The reality is that you've taken this, journey from the legacy world of one application, one server. Now you want to speed it up and move straight to the cloud, right? But you haven't actually perfected the virtualization layer yet. And that's exactly what he said: virtualize, virtualize, virtualize. Now, if you're going to try achieve this with legacy tools, legacy backup vendors, you're not going to succeed. They haven't changed anything. They're still doing old file system backups. So I've got some bad news. You're going to continue to battle, right? So there are vendors out there like ourselves who specialize and was built only for virtualization. So yeah, in your world, you're going to talk hours, lack of support, we don't do this. But unless you're picking modern, what we call modern data center vendors like Veeam Software, the challenge is going to continue, and be rest assured. So my advice to you is, and I tell this to everyone, I'm a salesman. I'm going to tell you how good we are. But don't believe salespeople. Do proof of concept. Test the products. Call the vendors in and go, hey, these are our challenges. This is what we're trying to address, and show it to us.
The first experience, the issue of penetration test. My advice is this. We have a lot of companies out there that claims to be doing penetration testing. They claim, yeah, we are good at this, we do that, and the rest. Yes, fine, they do it. But the question is, your fear was one of those fears, one of those things I had in mind too, when I started this idea of vulnerability testing. But I started there and said, okay, fine, what do? We need somebody from the outside. I have capacity internally to run it, right? But I need assurance from the outside to say, yes, you are good. Madam, there are companies out there, right? All you need to do is you sign NDA, 1. That's non-disclosure agreement, that's 1. Then 2, bind them with as many documents as possible. It's not between the person that came to implement and your company. It's between the person's company. Like each time we are about to do ours, what we do is this. We use one of the top-notch organizations to do it in this country. Now, before they come, we have about 6 documents that we put in place. Each person coming on site, is assessed. Then we have a document, we sign it. Right. When you start working, there are things, there are checklists, there are things we check on a daily basis. If the activity was to take 2 weeks, right, we would have agreed at the beginning that, okay, this document is going to bind this activity end to end. Day one, these are the expectations. What do we do? What have we done? And that kind of thing. And I keep up my security guy, checking on them from somewhere, but they will not know. Because what they are going to do is that when they get to your environment, they simulate like a bad person from the outside. Yeah. They hit your network a lot. So I keep my guy on the check. Also, bros, you can't sleep. Open your eyes. But they must not know that you are seeing what you are doing. Right. So we do that. But the question is, do we all have the capacity? No. But you bind them so that if there is an issue, that caveat has to be there in whatever document you are signing with them. That if there is an issue traceable to when this engagement runs, you are liable.
What is generally happening now is that when you look at the endpoint, for instance, traditionally, endpoint protection software has always relied on information or databases that have signatures of files. And they use the signatures of these files to determine whether those files are known or unknown, or whether they are good or bad. And you find that good files are allowed to run on this endpoint, while the bad ones are not allowed to. But the big problem that most enterprises face with those unknown files, which are usually zero-date files that are not known by traditional endpoint protection software. So one of the technologies that has actually addressed that is one that's developed by some of the endpoint protection vendors, but the one that I would like to focus on is one that actually uses a default denial approach, where files are denied running on an endpoint by default, whereas a lot of unknown files are allowed to run unfettered on endpoints because they are not known to be bad. So basically what that essentially means is that those files that are unknown are prevented from compromising or leading to a breach. We know that a lot of compromises come from employees, people clicking on attachments, clicking on pictures and the like, and there's hardly any way we can stop that. As we heard this morning, the human factor is the weakest part of any cybersecurity program. And what these technologies essentially do is to minimize the risk that the human factor brings into play when you have to deal with these threats, basically.
One of the things that was also present today is the fact that, there's a new generation, that's coming out. And somebody said everybody here, is of the old generation. And a lot of the workforce itself is actually of that new generation. In fact, there's this talk about, there used to be the talk about Generation X, but there is now the Generation Z, Now, just briefly, if I'm going to mention one thing, is that now, as an organization, as a CIO, as you're thinking of moving to the cloud or not moving to the cloud, now the same way, what CIOs, what we at Fortinet, are beginning to preach also is the fact that it's not just the organization that is talking of moving to the cloud. So even your staff, even your organization are beginning to move to the cloud. So you have a situation where you have a staff that is taking critical information and putting it on, cloud services and all of that. There's a general term for that. Some call it shadow IT, and all of that. I think, there's not much mention of that today, so I just want to, put that out there.
The subject is how we are leveraging on technology. Technology plays a role from the morning, from Jyoti's presentation to the last panel discussion. We are talking about the role of technology, how it's disrupting the whole space. So technology definitely is playing a role we can't ignore. And that is how, one way or the other, we are employed as CIOs, CTOs, heads of the IT department to ensure that this essential role that is played is properly managed. And we are able to properly direct the company in playing its role. For security and support, you need to employ technology. Technology will link you to the world. Why do we even want to leverage on technology? We want to leverage on technology because, yes, speed of delivery and access. Technology will always make you efficient if you employ it the right way. It will make you efficient.
That's our program this week. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. Keep watching. Personal with Larry. Very consistent. And matter of
it's high time. We have been agreeing. We can pass. Well, I came into politics because I looked at the whole scenario and I found out that majority of the people are running away from politics.